Everyone, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. On tonight's agenda, we have Rob Romero going to speak about deliberative and the vote delay and LED streetlight requests. We've got to finalize the 2021 budget warrant. Then at 7:30, let's see, COVID-19 police station lease. Then we have a non-public. I think we're going to move the police station lease also to that non-public session. Any opening remarks?
No.
Any updates?
Jim.
All it says, I don't know currently what the status is. We may know more once Mr. Romero speaks with us this evening. I know he brought up to the school board their ability, or I guess he had the same discussion with them that he's going to have with us. I don't know what went about, but I do know that the school has said that they're going to do their budget session and their deliberative session online through Zoom, not in person at any point. So I would just recommend to the voters that be very aware of the budget and the impact that that will have. Simply, if you have been reading the newspaper, that due to funding insecurity from the state, that you could be looking, even though the budget would not increase, your taxes could increase 12 to 13% on the school portion. So this is not a year to skip that deliberative session or to ask questions and be informed of what's going on with that budget. So if they're going to be doing it online, it is a good recommendation to be a part of that discussion.
Good point, John. Thank you.
Somebody was trying to connect and then they backed out.
John, do you know what the date is for that, by any chance?
For
The school deliberative?
I believe it's, both of those are, I think theirs are on evening times. Give me 1 second, I'll see if I can look it up for you.
I must have missed that part. I thought they were talking about not picking a date until next week or something.
No, they've already posted theirs from what I saw.
Huh.
So there is no opportunity for someone to be there live?
I don't believe so. The school board has not been meeting in person at all. They've been having all their meetings via computer Zoom from each other's houses.
Hmm.
So,
And how does the public
Um,
input strictly if they're online?
they have to be online and they're called on, yes.
And yet we're sending our kids back to school.
I was going to say that, but I'm glad you did. So,
What they say?
You're elected, I'm appointed.
yeah. They voted last night. So the school board does not meet in person. They have not met in person. And the superintendent does most of her work from her home in Manchester. But they're sending the teachers and students back into the buildings next week. So
Okay.
5 people can't get together in a conference room bigger than this one. But they're going to put 20 kids and a teacher into a classroom the same size as this one.
Okay. We get Rob signed in? No.
No, he's not. Okay, the Messinic Regional School District will hold a virtual public hearing, followed by a virtual town hall open discussion on the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget on Monday, January 4th at 6 p.m. As of right now, so I apologize, they have not confirmed that the deliberative session will be virtual, but they have not set a location. And
Did
that
you
is,
say January 4th or February 4th?
it was Monday, January 4th, was their budget hearing. That's what they said.
When's their deliberative?
Their deliberative is February 3rd
February 3rd.
at 6 p.m. So it's a Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Yeah, so their budget hearing was a week and a day ago. I got it.
Hey, Jason.
Good evening.
Hi. Did you go to that school budget hearing? No,
No,
budget
I
hearing.
didn't know about it. I
Okay.
assumed that's what you guys were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I wanted to know if I could drop it off. The petition for Valley Road, please.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah.
Can I just hand it to you? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just
Alright.
figured that way you didn't have to go all the way across.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Were you there, John, or?
No, no, that's why I just said they had it, so it was a week and a day ago, and it was online.
Did you listen to the school board meeting last night?
I listened to some of it, cause I had something else, so I listened to the beginning of it, and then I got around, I was home by the time they were getting around to the board discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had already gone through the public comments, and we'd gotten around to the board discussing
Yeah.
their feelings, and then I heard the vote and the motions that were made pertinent to that vote. The fact that it's 100% masking in the building,
Yeah.
no questions asked, and I forgot what the other one was. But, so, and then the final vote of 3-2 that they would be returning back to school next week. And
Yeah.
they're breaking it up. So kindergarten and high school are 4 days, and 1st through 8th are 5 days.
As Bob spoke last night at the school board meeting too. So I think he might be trying to get us together, like the two bodies together at some point to decide what we're gonna do as far as the voting goes, cause he presented the same, almost an identical presentation to what he did for us last week to them, and then the challenges of the virtual or the drive-through voting.
Yeah.
And then with Greenville in the mix too for the school board,
Right.
or the school stuff, so.
Yeah, I read the article, I looked at it, that there's been no vote from the state on whether you can postpone anything yet.
Mhm.
It made it through part of it, and then, but you've gotta basically bypass all discussion to force it through. And I guess, what does the Senate, the House wouldn't force it through. And they don't know when their next meeting's gonna be, because the meeting they had was in a parking lot at UNH or something like that.
Mhm.
So right now, the state has not voted on whether we can, what Mark brought up last week, the state has not voted on whether we can delay anything. We can go by the alternate forms that Bob was telling us about, but as of right now, they have not voted that we can delay any sort of sessions.
But Bob had mentioned that he has the authority to postpone the deliberative at 72-hour increments, and that there's no, like it's unending, so every 72 hours he could do that delay, and then 2-week delay on the vote.
Yeah,
or
but
something
it has
like
to be
that.
for certain emergencies.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to hear from him
Yeah.
here.
I'll send him a message, see if.
Since Bob's not here, did you want to discuss the LED request, or was that
I
like
I
Bob
thought we already
specifically?
talked about that
Yeah,
before, that's
Bob.
why I don't know why it came back again.
Yeah, Bob would like to revisit it.
Okay.
I just sent him a text message.
So we got a couple of other petition warrant article requests today. One is from Prime Roofing. They wanna see if the town will authorize the Board of Selectmen to discontinue pursuant to RSA 231:43.29 acres, which is part of the old right-of-way adjacent to Route 124, as shown on the plan attached here to as Exhibit A, and be part hereof. So there's, when the road was reconfigured years ago, there was a right-of-way that the town owned, or some land that the town owned there. And it's impacting, or has the potential to impact, the development of their parcel at 485 Turnpike that they're pursuing. And they have this similar issue with some state land, in the state right-of-way too, that they have to deal with. But they wanted to at least get the petition warrant article in, since this was the deadline, so that we might be able to address that for them, so that they can move forward with their project this coming year.
Does that right away have anything to do with the DPW property?
Boy. Well, there is a bit that straggles onto that parcel too, if you wanna look at it. But I think they're looking at just the piece that affects their property.
Is there any history on why the right-of-way was granted, or?
It's part of when they reconfigured Turnpike Road. It's kind of what the leftover when they shifted the road.
Oh, I see.
So it's probably of no use to the town, quite honestly. Since it's a state highway anyway.
Yeah.
And Prime is coming in to see us 2 weeks from tonight to talk about their overall project as well.
Weren't they supposed to be in tonight?
No,
I thought a couple of weeks ago I had it down that they were coming in.
yeah, no, I figured with the budget and everything else going on, that wasn't a good time to have them come in, and they had no problem waiting until the 26th.
They've got so many different areas colored here that it's hard to follow what they're doing.
guess they're gonna have to explain it at the deliberative session.
Yeah.
Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different colored areas between reverting and buying and,
If they're able to, or we have some contact
We're
with
gonna
them,
leave it
if
open.
we have them
yeah,
put
they
it
could
on a
just
flash
explain.
drive so we can throw it up on the screen that night, it'd probably be worthwhile, so they can explain to the
Hmm.
people present. Cause trying to explain to someone where the right of way is when you're talking about a stretch of highway, I think it's, might be a little easier.
And this is the Valley Road. I don't know if it was reworded or what, but it's kinda, it's a petition. But then it also has on there, and if the Board of Selectmen do not accept the road as a public highway by petition prior to such town voting date set March 9th. And we had said it would have to be one or the other,
Right.
so.
And I also received another one just prior to the meeting today, from Jim Coffey, Chairman of the Assessors. This is a petition warrant article for the GIS mapping.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's here as well. I'll open that up. Let's take a look.
Do you need a certain minimum on a petition warrant article for signatures? Oh, I got it.
Yeah, they've
there's
got
the
multiple,
one.
yeah, they got
I'm like,
multiple
geez,
pages.
there's only 9 people.
That's why, that's why there's a book there.
Yeah, no,
I was thinking it was all his explanation of.
Yeah, no, that just, they sent out some stuff clarifying that, you know, everyone was walking around, they said specifically now, instead of walking around or standing somewhere trying to get signatures,
Yeah,
you could have multiple pages as long as all the pages together equaled 25 or whatever your goal was.
Yeah.
Instead of, because they used to be, you know, you'd leave it at the market or,
Yeah.
you know, local store and people would sign it, but
that's what these all are, right? Somewhere I'm assuming there's gonna be a petition. The warrant article. No.
we keep doing this, we're just gonna just need to put a mirror just above Scott's head.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can see the screen in the window and sometimes I can't.
Yeah. Or you can just give me a zapper.
Yeah.
Like,
Can you send this to the town council? Because they still have the funds coming from the conservation fund. And I thought the conservation fund was strictly to conserve land,
Right. And not for,
Now, I
buying
believe,
software.
yeah, I believe they did some research on that, and it was an allowable use, but I'll confirm that.
Yeah. Could you get a copy of that?
Huh?
Could you get a copy of that?
Of that?
No,
No.
of the,
email or whatever they got.
no, the warrant that established the conservation. fund.
pages and 2 signatures on each.
That's kinda like households, you know?
That's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
It's whoever's on the committee and their spouse signed it.
That's really good. But- And me. Mm.
Well, can we move on to finalizing the budget warrants?
Sure.
Sure.
I thought it, the last time we looked at it, the last item on the budget was gonna pertain to the incidental FICA Medi.
Right, yep. And basically, I'm, gonna have to go through each budget and calculate based on, pre-established formulas for that.
Okay.
The other thing, I know we touched on insurances, but I wasn't sure we confirmed those numbers, so I wanna make sure you have the accurate numbers in the budget. For
Yeah.
Primex.
Bear with me 1 second. Okay.
So,
21 is blank.
so property and liability
Yeah,
is gonna increase to 42,572, which I believe is a little over a 4% increase. At least on their numbers.
I'm showing a 3.06% increase. It looks like last year was 41,309.
Yeah, 41,309, yeah, it's a 3.1%
Okay, yeah,
increase.
yeah.
Yep. And the workers' comp is actually going, oh, that's the one that's going down 4.2%.
Oh, that's good.
24,982 is the new number,
Could you
Down.
repeat that, please?
24,982. Down from 26,070.
I've got one other thing here, and I don't know if it's correct or not. Under insurances, property and liability insurance is 1. Unemployment,
Is flat at 500.
500, okay. So that just went up like 1/4%. What did we do with outside lighting? Did you get a hold of Paul to find out?
Paul has not returned my calls. I think, well, we have the number that,
Affinity?
that Affinity estimated. Let me go grab that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Just while I'm thinking about it, so I don't forget when Scott comes back. When we were talking last week, driving around looking at the different lights,
Mm-hmm.
there's still lights, unless we decided not to get rid of it, there's still a light on either side of Messinic's driveway. I thought we were going to eliminate one of those.
It's funny you bring that up. I noticed like the Messinic one seems, glowing, and then High Bridge is kinda, there's no light there.
It's because as soon as you turn in, like
Well, yeah,
it's, I mean, there's a light probably, 10, 12 feet, something like that, just as you get into the driveway.
yeah.
But then I think it was, and maybe it just looks weird, I think, is it North Road? It doesn't look like North Road's been changed out yet. All of them have that nice white light, and all of a sudden you get to North Road, and it looks like it's that orange halogen still.
Hmm.
So,
Because I think there was some that weren't done yet.
Yeah.
I don't know which is which.
yeah, and it may have been that they didn't have a detail to shut that intersection down or something, I don't know, but.
Any chance in that file, which you just grabbed, would we have the, list of the light fixtures that were gonna be changed, added and deleted?
I believe that's in here.
Okay.
So, so they're estimating an annual savings of $13,557 once we do the upgrade. I don't know whether that's factoring in or amortizing the rebate, because we're getting a $14,000 initial rebate on this project from Eversource.
They anticipated 13,000 savings?
Correct. So let's see what they have here. Total annual cost. So current lighting, they have our total annual cost at $22,523. I don't know if that's close to what we're paying or not.
Yeah, we budgeted 26.5 last year.
And they're saying that with the LED lighting, that would drop to $15,990, but I'm not sure how Eversource is gonna bill that. That's how they come up with the total annual savings of $13,557.
That's 16,000.
I wouldn't make that huge jump yet,
Not that big, but I think it should be close, because it was supposed to be a 2-year payback, or 2.5-year payback.
Yeah,
So that's gotta be pretty close.
18,
Yeah,
yeah, so put in 18.
okay. Agree?
Yes.
Because then next year we'll have a much better
The actual.
Yeah.
actual.
Yeah.
I just, because all of them have been done yet and things like that, So Scott, the reason David asked you is, when he and I did the drive around last year, we had suggested changing Messinic's, the entrance at Messinic to a one light instead of, because right now there's a light on both sides of the driveway. And we had suggested taking one of them off, and they both got changed over to the new lights. So that was why we had asked.
Okay.
And which tab is the insurances under?
No, Steve.
I don't know if
Oh,
I missed that
additions we
night
did.
or.
Yeah. And we
It's-
add a
it says insurances.
removal,
But I don't think I thought we got, I think we just went over it, but I know there's a tab to this.
Oh, so you don't have
I
a
don't-
sheet
I
there.
think he's
Okay.
referring to possibly this one. 6125 was one as a remove on Turnpike Road. Was there any other one that you can think of on Turnpike Road? I know we talked about the one up here near Porter, but we said, no, leave it.
Yeah. Can't remember. I don't have my full sheet.
We had, one on Goen, one on Temple.
Do we have Woody's inventory? Cause that one would tell us
Would tell us what?
where 6125 is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the full ledger right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Well, these headings on here start with poll number, and when you get to Turnpike Road, there isn't a 6125. They're all with a 1/ number. So I think that's the one that was up there.
Could be. And like I said, it's the only one I thought of on Turnpike that we were gonna get rid of.
Yeah,
Off the top of my head anyway. Cause most of the other ones we,
well, we're looking at just street intersections.
yeah.
Did you check with Affinity on that one there?
Sure.
And then if one of the other, either of you has a chance, like I said, I think it was North Road, as you're driving up, it doesn't look like it's been changed, but like I said, maybe they haven't gotten up there yet.
Oh, I thought they were done. Where was it on North Road? Yeah,
Turnpike
Wheeler
and
Road?
North Road.
Oh, Turnpike.
Like I said, just driving up the hill, you kinda see it, and it, like I said, it looks like it, still looks like it's the old orangey glow to it. But I paid special attention to, Gibbs and where, Chief Carpenter talked about a light. Yes, if you are sitting at Gibbs, you are kind of in the dark. Meaning, if you're coming up the hill and if the person's sitting at Gibbs, they're in the dark, but only if they don't have headlights on. But there is quite a bit of overflow from the other side. It just doesn't really carry over the yellow line. But there is, in my opinion, there's adequate light there. And if
I
the
looked
person's
at-
sitting at Gibbs with their headlights on,
Oh, one more, sir.
Yeah.
if they're sitting at Gibbs with their headlights on, then they're fine.
Yeah.
You know, they're visible, so. It would really just be if you're flying down the road and, yes, you can miss Gibbs,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, there was a light right after it.
yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Romerl. Huh?
Good evening. Sorry, I got carried away working on something else.
You were on the agenda to discuss the deliberative and voting sessions.
I just noticed that.
You didn't request it?
He did.
Oh.
Is now a good time? Are you at a break or are you working on something else?
Now's a good time.
So, I guess this is going to be a tricky year because we need to coordinate with the school district as to how they decide to do things, and they have not decided how they would like to do things. I think I made you all aware that there was the opportunity for this virtual deliberative session, which would be a two-part effort, and requires notification to all registered voters of the warrant, a review of the warrant at a meeting, receipt of all input from all voters in all methods over the next 7 days, followed by another meeting where the governing body, that would be you, the selectmen, meet and read out all of the input that's received, and then decide if you will amend any of the warrant articles or leave them alone, and then publish the new warrant. And then at the election, the first item on the warrant would be, do you agree with the methods used to arrive at the warrant? In other words, do you agree with the use of the virtual meeting? And if you don't get a 50% plus one response, then you don't have anything. Also, it requires drive-through voting as part of that. You can have walk-in voting, but you also have to have drive-through voting. And I can't imagine the town warrant and the school district warrant being conducted, even in Messinic, in a drive-through manner. And that would also, I'm not sure what it would do to since we don't know what the school district is doing, if they did a virtual meeting, it would require Greenville to conduct the school district part as a drive-through vote, and I don't think they have a location where they can do that.
Are they allowed to vote in another town?
So the rules on voting in another town would require them to have busing from their town to the other town to cast their votes. It's a very prescribed process. So yes, it can be done. I don't know that it would be pretty challenging to conduct 2 elections at the high school campus in one day.
No, I was thinking, my thought was that they could use Highbridge if we went that route.
If they're not in school.
Well, doesn't the school normally close on election day?
No.
No,
No?
they don't.
Okay,
They sometimes they've had teacher conferences,
okay.
which would not have students in the school. They did just vote last night to go back to school next
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Oh, right, because Monday's a holiday. So now, separate from all that, there's a piece of legislation that's, I don't know if you saw the ledger today at all, that's gotten hung up in the House of Representatives. The goal was to have it fast-tracked and signed, but the House decided they didn't want to do that. The Senate, it's a Senate bill that was put forward to allow for the delay of both the deliberative and the voting, as opposed to using the fact that I can postpone the deliberative session in 72-hour increments, and I can postpone the election in 2-week increments. It would just allow us to say, we're going to postpone the deliberative until, let's say, April 5th, and then we would vote on May 7th, for example. So that bill has not become law. It's not likely to become law. If it does, prior to our deliberative sessions. So even still, if we thought it would be a good idea to delay, we could. And again, the question is, what is the operational impact to the town if they don't have a formal budget until April, May, June? And I've asked the same question to the school district, what's the impact on them? So they have two considerations. One, they load up their budget to start their year July 1st. We're already in our fiscal year with the town. The other complication for the school district is normally after the vote in March, they're able to notify teachers in mid-April of whether or not they're renewing their contracts or not. And then mad scramble for jobs for teachers begins throughout the state. If we didn't have the election until May, then they wouldn't be able to notify the teachers until late May, early June. That may be an operational issue for them, that some teachers decide to jump ship because they don't have clarity around their futures. So that hasn't been sorted out yet. I'm due to meet with them next Tuesday because they're not meeting on Monday due to the holiday. So I don't know if you guys have any opinions about the state of COVID in New Ipswich, if you want to continue and have a face-to-face meeting like we normally do with the 35, 40, 50 people who show up, socially distanced at the auditorium.
That is my recommendation. We've already reached out to the school to reserve the dates for both the budget hearing and the deliberative session at the school, so that we can socially distance in that auditorium. So that's my opinion. I'd like to see us go forward with it, only because fiscally I think it would cause a hardship on the town, as well as just confusion beyond belief.
Yeah, I agree with John on 2 points there. One, and as you pointed out, Bob, is that as much as we'd love everybody to attend the deliberative session, it never pans out that way. And typically, you get a handful of residents, and the balance are residents that are involved on the boards and committees, management end. The second point is that we just went through the national election, which would far exceed my best dreams of voter turnout. And I have not heard of or seen ramifications from that. So I think if we practice the social distancing at this point in time, it'd probably be the best route to go. And I think we're in a better position now than we were in November, whereas some people have already had the vaccine. Don't know how many, but it was 0 in November.
And I agree with all of that. I think we should go on as we traditionally have, and and that was the point I was going to make about the national election, that I didn't recall getting a big bump locally, like a spike in numbers. So I think that went pretty well.
Now, Rob, just out of curiosity, what happens if, for some reason, Greenville said, yeah, we want to delay, or we want to do remote? Does it have to be a consensus between the two towns, or?
Well, it would be really nice. But if they decide that they want to do a virtual meeting, then we'll have to have drive-through voting.
Why is that the trump card? Or the sorry, not the right phrase. Why do they have the final decision on?
I think he means do you mean the school board? If the school board decide to do a virtual meeting?
That's correct. So why? Because that's part of this House Bill 1129 that lays out the rules for a virtual meeting. It says you notify all your voters, you have a meeting, 7 days later you take the input, read it all out, then you publish an electronic version of the warrant for the the public. So that's, the notice would go out to all the voters. Then you have that first item on the school district warrant which says, did you agree with the way, this process was conducted? If they say yes, everything's good. If they say no, then we'll have to have another meeting to decide the school budget.
Okay, so we would essentially have, 2 different voting days, one for the town and one for the school.
Well, we could still have it be the same time.
They would just have to drive through with their school ballot and then come in for their town ballot.
Yeah, the chances of that happening, though, is gonna be slim and none, right?
Well, yeah, because I don't think whether or not we could do drive-through voting for the town as well as the school, I don't think we have the right to do that, I guess. But it would certainly streamline things if we had to do it that way. I'm just thinking March 9th is like really early in March. And I can't believe we'll have even as nice a weather as we've been having right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 12 hours out in the cold, leaning in and out of car windows is just going to be really unpleasant.
We'll just have to drive right through the automotive shop. Is there an overhead door on the other end?
No, it's a one-way in.
So I guess it'd be
Hope
prudent
it's in
that
their budget to put in.
we should meet with the school board, I guess.
Jason?
I just had a question. It sounded like you have the deliberative virtually, but then the board itself, if somebody proposed an amendment, the board is the one who would approve or reject the amendment to an article, or
Yes,
did I hear that wrong?
Yeah.
that is correct.
Yeah, there
So
could-
basically, every amendment would be a suggestion, and the board would decide whether to take advantage of that suggestion or to ignore it. Which then puts you at that, like Bob said, that first article on there is, do you agree with the way this happened? So, if, for example, a large group says we want to amend the budget, and the board says we're not going to amend the budget, all it takes is 51% of the voter turnout to say no on that number 1 article, and everything, all warrants are then null and void.
Ooh, does that sound messy?
It does sound messy, doesn't it? And I don't, just my opinion, I don't see anyone wanting to go through all the hassle of putting together a budget and doing the meetings to pretty much know that, or to feel that people are going to null and void every warrant. And considering that there is a section that just votes no down the line on every article, no matter what it says, that's a chance that could happen very easily to not hit that 51%. So.
And I think the school district is leaning against doing that, but they didn't make a decision last night.
Well, I'd like to make a
I
decision.
think they agree that it takes away
Entertain a motion.
significant voter participation.
So, I make a motion for the town deliberative and town voting to remain as is, with in-person and not in virtual.
You want to keep amending that to what we had said last time?
Yes, but we will offer Zoom options for the deliberative session so that people can ask questions and hear what is going on at the meetings
Via
Zoom.
Okay, I thought last time you had mentioned about texting, that was.
Well, no, look, what it is there's a text option on the
Okay,
side, so we don't
okay.
have people trying to yell out through the computer.
Okay,
Yeah.
is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, well, thank you. Now, is someone to coordinate with the tech folks at the high school to enable Zoom and a camera and stuff like that?
Yeah, we'll see if we can reach out to Mr. Franz, whatever, but as long as we have a Wi-Fi we should be able to allow people to hear through Zoom, and we'll go through that. And I'll just make sure we have a second monitor attached to the computer we're using so that the people can be aimed towards a speaker, but we can see what's going on the screen without them having to look at
You
me.
really shouldn't do that. You really should get yourself a good mic and hook it to the computer. If you use the computer's mic, you'll have a lot of people not hearing what's going on. In this meeting alone, I can tell you, 2 or 3 of you, Sean in particular, I can't make out a word you're saying. So you really do need to follow Bob's advice and get some AV people in there.
I
And
did-
run some tests.
I didn't say I wasn't going to reach out. I said that would be the last option, that, we'll make sure that we have some sort of option going, but we'll reach out and see. I don't know what there's some opportunities. I have the availability to get some microphones that we could probably hook up to the computer. So
I think what he's trying to say is Sean's too soft-spoken.
That sounded pretty soft spoken. So.
Anything else, Bob? There was something about a street light.
Oh, are we gonna do that tonight too? So, so moving on to a new subject then, thank you for the decision. So there's a street light on Ashby Road that was dropped as part of the street light program, I don't know, I guess I'll say 10 years ago, I don't know when exactly it was, where they dropped some street lights. And I asked PSNH if they would upgrade it so that I could pay a lower rate. And they said, no, that can only be done for municipalities. I said, oh, well, that's not very nice. So I thought if it would be possible to get on the municipal upgrade program here, at least long enough to get an upgrade, and then we could turn it back over to me so that I could take it on as a personal cost again. That would be a wonderful thing to do. And I understand there's the unit cost, I'm willing to pay that as well, because if I can cut my $17 or $18 bill in half, it'll pay off pretty quick.
How do we go
So
about doing
that was a
now?
request. And the street lights are at Thayer Four Corner, and then at the corner of River Road and Ashburnham. And I guess there might be one at the end of Willard Road as well.
Bob, can you touch on what you're now referring to?
the closest ones. You're talking about
Oh.
the closest lights to.
To this this
Okay,
light on Ashby
okay,
Road, yeah.
yeah.
It's on Middle Ashby Road is how I would describe it.
Right. There's one at Willard.
And it is across from a driveway that, for the commercial property behind our house.
Yeah.
So there is traffic that comes up and down there. It's just my imagination, but ever since the town upgrade program started, our street lights stopped working in the last few weeks here. And the traffic seems to go up and down the road a lot faster.
Well, if anything, it should slow it down. But I know we had the discussion here, and when we arrived at the decision of looking at the street lighting before we had it upgraded was a matter of we were trying to focus strictly on intersections, and when we were told that was a private one, we said, we'll just leave it, it's theirs. To put it to a public one, to then make it a private one, I don't really know what's going to be involved on that end. I don't know if Eversource does it that way, but we could ask, but I'd hate to be back and forth just to save the cost of half a fixture or something. Will Eversource not upgrade it for you?
That's correct.
So you would have to buy the fixture and have an electrician do it for you.
I
don't even
guess,
know that you can
I
do that.
doubt it because it's like connected direct to Eversource.
Yeah.
Well, it just seems weird that they wouldn't, if it's a private light that he's paying for, why they wouldn't upgrade it for him, or upgrade
At
it
a
if
cost.
he paid for it,
Yeah.
right, at cost to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
That just seems odd. I think that's gonna take some research on our part to see what.
I guess I wouldn't have, I'd be in favor as long as we're switching it over, you pay the cost, and then as long as Eversource allows us to let you revert back to it again. I don't know if they have like a timeline type thing that they say you keep it a year or whatever, but, would you mind looking into that? If you could
Yeah,
get a hold of Paul
Yeah.
or whomever.
Yeah, it seemed like a bigger deal when had the meeting with the Affinity guys. Like, it wasn't that simple just to switch back and forth. And there's like actual votes that take place, and
yeah, we'll have to
Yeah.
look into what the possible paths we can take are.
yeah,
Because the first one that they described was kind of convoluted, to say the least.
Yeah,
And I don't know if there's another option there or not. But, we can discuss it with Affinity and Eversource to see if we can come up with a cleaner solution somehow.
so it sounds like we're gonna look into it for you, Bob.
I'd appreciate that, thank you very much. And Scott, let me know if there's any calls I can make.
Okay, will do, Bob.
Good night, Bob. You can stay, but I'm
Yeah.
ending that topic.
they're like kicking them out.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
You too,
Bye.
Bob, thank
Bye,
you.
Bob.
Leave there.
Okay, was there, Scott, was there anything else on the 2021 budget that you had?
So,
numbers for?
well, there's a couple of things that we have to address. One is the spare vehicle we now have is gonna be inserted, I guess, into the Board of Selectmen's office budget. And based on that, I think we need a line item for maintenance and repairs, and my recommendation is to put $2,500 in that line item. And then we need a fuel line item, and my suggestion would be, let's start with 500 and see.
Why would the fuel not come out of the department budget that utilizes it?
how- It would be
Or
very
then
difficult.
do we revert funds from those other budgets to the BOS?
I mean, trying to, depending on which department uses it, trying to track that, I mean, we could have them use their own WEX gas card, I suppose, instead of having a separate gas card for that car, although I believe we've already ordered one.
And I think that's the way it should be, but I mean, is there a way that,
You know, trying to break it out every time each department uses it and charge them back.
okay, maybe I'm not being clear. I was thinking at first was if hypothetically the fire department, say, has a budget for travel, rather than leaving the money in the travel budget there, if they're gonna be using the vehicle, you take the funds or a portion of those funds and put it into that budget that you're talking about on the Board of Selectmen, and that's where it all gets paid out of. Cause right now, we have those line item budgets by department because they're traveling and getting paid for it. So
Getting
now
mileage,
the
yeah.
purpose was using a town vehicle.
Yeah, have some type of sign in, sign out sheet, track mileage. Right.
Cause I don't,
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, for the first year, I think we need some history, usage history to figure out how to make those adjustments in the budget. I think anything we do this year would be guessing. We'd simply be guessing. And, that's just my thought on it.
So if we have a line item now, on the Board of Selectmen, but travel miles and meals. Do we add it to that or just establish a new number?
I would give it its own account number. I think the auditors would be happy if we separated it out, because it's a distinct cost that we break out for every other department.
I agree with that, and then you could still track it all year.
But I think
Yeah.
sometime you gotta put a policy together of the use of the vehicle. I
Yeah,
can just see that being, everybody has a key and they just take it. Who's gonna be the gatekeeper?
Yeah,
Who's responsible for,
yeah.
cleaning it, you know? Those are the types of things
The
is
town
that
rent-
if we had a
the town rental
policy.
car.
yeah. But I'm good with the numbers that Scott proposed for maintenance and fuel.
I didn't write them down because I didn't have a line item to put them into, so let's first get,
Yeah, I mean, I can give you an idea of what the line item
Yeah.
number would be.
just what it would come after or before.
Let's see. Vehicle maintenance would end in 432.
4, 3, 2, okay? And what are we gonna call that?
It's vehicle maintenance, BOS vehicle maintenance. And then fuel would be end in 635. And that would end up going, let's see, 635, it would get sandwiched
Really?
between
Postage and publications? Can we keep the vehicle stuff all together?
And so there's, the way the chart of accounts set up is very specific, the way DRA does it. So we have to kind of follow their lead.
Joe, what is this vehicle?
It was one of the older cruisers, and so we have, for example, if they need to go to fire training, instead of paying for them to load up and go in multiple vehicles or anything like that, they're able to take one vehicle to a training session instead of paying a personal vehicle and you have 4 people applying for mileage.
And if you recall, at one time, the fire department had a call vehicle. Now, at least this way here, it would be a vehicle that all of the departments could use. Whereas I really would not want to be seeing them use our other vehicles, which are pretty much DPW.
Right. Yeah, dropping a DPW pickup all the way to Concord.
And what we were gonna get for the vehicle on the trade-in when we got the new one didn't make sense financially. So what were those numbers?
So, 2,500 for vehicle maintenance and 500 for fuel for the first year, just to have a starting point to see where we end up. I mean, you know, $500 should get us roughly 3,000 to 4,000 miles of driving at 18 to 20 miles to the gallon, which I'm assuming a Ford Explorer is capable of getting. Maybe I'm being optimistic, I don't know.
Probably all depends on where our gas
Yep.
price goes.
Well, yeah, it's jumped 30 cents just since the election.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
It's the new Green Deal.
I think by doing this, it's gonna never get changed. Those line items are just gonna keep increasing, and the whole point of this was supposed to be,
Well, on the backside, we can create the policy where it gets charged back to the departments that use it, like based on the sign in, sign out sheet that we like, that should be created for this, so that it gets funded through the other departments. So we can still have those line items each year, but then it gets paid back, or,
Well, like I said,
well,
at
like
least,
he's saying, how do you track that? Is that you've got to, let's just say the vehicle's sitting out there, it's got a tank of gas in it. Somebody
well,
goes,
someone wants to use it, the
Yep.
key's in Scott's office, and then they have to, you know, go down, check, or make sure the mileage is right, and,
yeah, I would say, I think for year one to do this, and just, you know, we have note that next year we can kind of see where the use was in each department and take it off, you know, so we go, okay, so last year we spent $400 in gas, but of that, $100 was fire, $100 was DPW, $100 was, you know, some other department, and $100 was actually used by the BOS to, you know, we went and did a, you know, 3 of us jumped in that and checked out a driveway or permit or, you know, whatever, you know, drove a road. So then next year we go, okay, based on that sign and out sheet, or how, we're gonna reduce that budget to $100 for BOS, and the other departments get billed for the,
and I think that's what Scott, and I agree with him, is gonna be very cumbersome. Versus I'm saying, just take it out of those budgets and put it in here.
but we don't know if they're gonna use it, or how much they're gonna use it.
But we know we budgeted, or they budgeted for travel,
Yeah,
okay? So rather than leaving the money there, if we have the vehicle, again, that's why I think we're putting the cart ahead of the horse, is that we don't have that policy in place to say, if you need to travel, to use this vehicle.
yeah, so, I guess, so in essence, if we started out with a full tank of gas, right?
Yeah.
And then someone went and used it for something, and if it's a department that doesn't have
a gas.
a gas card, they're either gonna get reimbursed for it, or the
Right,
town card,
Well, they'd have to fill it with whatever card they have
And then
and
that would go
submit
against
that
their
to their
budget.
department for reimbursement.
But that card should be with the vehicle. That's how the Wex cards work.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
stays with the vehicle.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody, and that's the other thing to control, is to make sure that the fuel purchased with that card is for that vehicle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you'd have that sign in and sign out sheet, and,
Yeah, that would be, I think that's a good point to know who's using it and where they're going and for what use, but I think the actual paying the bill for
Yeah.
fuel should be out of one account. And if there's a way that, and if you wanna wait till next year, that's fine.
Yeah, like I said, it's gotta,
But
the paying of the
I
Wex
just-
card has to come out of one account.
Correct. But my only fear is that a department has a budget.
Mhm.
That's what they're responsible for.
yeah,
So if they have money in an account, they haven't used it, it gets spent on other items. And that's all I'm trying to caution.
but, yeah, I agree with that, so maybe take that fuel line out
Or
anyways.
a portion thereof and put it into your fuel line here. because that's why it's in their budget, is
Yeah,
because we're
I guess I
paying
just
them
don't know what
mileage.
departments are using it and how much, so we don't know how much to
Yeah.
take out of their line
Well, you
items.
could still do it, so if we started it today with a full tank of gas, like, in this, we have no fuel line at all, like, for the BOS, cause it shouldn't, in essence, shouldn't need it, or $100 or something, when they do the sign in and sign out, and then they have to fill it with the WEX card, like that card that day, you're gonna be able to go through that statement, and it'll be like assigned to, like, whatever department and charged back to the department.
And I'm just gonna play an example.
Yeah.
Is the fire guys are going over to Nashua for something, and they fill it up, you know, there's a $30 bill. They only travel 20 miles. You wouldn't go and charge them for that whole bill.
Well,
No,
no,
but
no, because it's gonna
start with
full.
a full tank of gas, so that's what he's saying, so I would say, okay, and I completely get what you're saying, so take the BOS fuel line, drop it to $100, or $100, cause you're definitely gonna get at least one full tank of gas for $100. Then, I don't know how big the tank is, so.
Yeah.
But say twice a year, we have to fill it up ourselves because of stuff, so we have $100. Then I understand what Sean's saying, is if you signed it out, so like you said, the fire department goes to Nashua, when they come back, they stop at the Mile or the Mobile, whatever, and fill it up with the WEX card, they return it. We know that they charge $30 on the WEX card on this day, because they should turn in a receipt when it prints out. Then we take $30 out of the fire travel line.
Yeah.
And
So I think I
selectmen's is only
understand
gonna-
what you're saying is, the vehicle is always full.
Yes.
Correct, to start.
You take it full, it's like a rental car.
Yeah.
You take it full, you return it full. And then that receipt is turned in, because I'm assuming you're gonna get the keys and the card when you sign the vehicle out. So when you return it, you're gonna return the keys, the card, and the receipt.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roger will know where to charge that
Yep.
based on,
Okay.
so I would say lower the BOS fuel line to 100.
Yeah, so there's something there.
But then whichever department uses it, it's charged to them when they return in that receipt.
Mhm.
That makes sense, Scott, what we're saying?
Honestly, until we do something
Right,
and see if it works, I guess we don't know. We have no history on
right.
it.
But at least it's a start.
It's a
And then-
start.
And then
yeah.
if we, like you said, if someone's like, well, I went in, the thing was only half full, well, who used it before you? Okay?
Yeah.
Hey, then
Yeah.
we'll charge it to them, they'll learn.
Yeah. They do it like the rental places and make it 3 times the
For those
cost.
There you
two
go.
items on.
Well, the other thing that I explored a bit is perhaps getting some outside assistance with the land use, since we have 2 new employees, to try to get them up to speed, look at our processes, trying to get Debbie to do the new town clerk tax collector position and help get 2 new people trained and up to speed, I think is gonna be difficult. And to be, and probably have limited effectiveness as far as the 2 new people are concerned. So I contacted MRI to see if we got an experienced land use person in for a period of time that could help train and also give us an opportunity to look at the way we're doing things in the land use departments to see if there's opportunities for improvement. And the 2 people that they recommended I actually know, coincidentally. And they are strong planners, in fact, they're certified planners. We don't necessarily need all of that, but to have them come in and assist, the recommendation was to possibly, utilize them for, maybe up to 40 hours. And it would cost us $75 potential travel, although a lot of this, because of COVID, could probably be done remotely, and we eliminate the travel costs. So looking at that, you know, my thought is to increase our consulting line item by, you know, $3,000 to $4,000 to cover that cost for a period of time till we can get the 2 new people up to speed. I think that might help address some of the concerns raised by the planning board and the board of assessors at our meeting last week as well, by having an experienced person in here to help out, not on an everyday basis, but kind of as an as-needed basis. And so that's kind of my thought on that. I wanted to throw it out there as a possibility to alleviate the concerns of the other land use folks, and hopefully help the 2 new people get up to speed that much quicker.
Let me ask you a question, Scott. Would we be better served financially if we increase the hours of the part-time deputy town clerk, whatever we have in that position there, to free Debbie up to train?
So the problem that we have there is Margie has limited availability, and we're maximizing that availability right now. So.
Have we reached out? I know Jessica had told me she'd be willing to work part-time.
And there,
I don't know what
I
her
don't want-
availability is.
I have some other information that I know on that.
Okay.
Not on Jess, but on Margie.
Yep.
But it's for non-public.
Okay.
Want me to bring it up?
We'll discuss it then.
So anyway, that's one recommendation.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't feel comfortable talking about this, but I'd like to bring it up again, and that is my salary. When I do the math on the number of hours that I put in here during a regular week as they go, when you figure out what the hourly rate is, the new hourly rate for the town clerk tax collector position is, you know, anywhere from $1.50 to $3.50 an hour more than what I'm being compensated. When I look at the police chief and his current salary, even with the adjustment that you've made, he's effectively making about $15 more an hour than I am when you figure in the total number of hours I put in versus what he puts in. The increase that I heard proposed for the chief last week was in the order of $7,000, which takes the gap between me and him and just broadens it even more. In a lot of towns, you know, the town administrator is at the same level or higher than the police chief, especially since, in theory, the police chief reports to me as a department head. I tried not to be unreasonable in my request. I came back with the number that we discussed last year for this year's number. And I understand the fiscal realities of New Ipswich, but honestly, I would have to, you know, when I do the math, I'm basically being paid what a seasoned clerical person would be paid, or a seasoned land use person. Now, we don't pay those rates in this town, I'm just comparing to other towns. And that's just based on some of the people we interviewed for those land use jobs, on what their expectations were. So I'd ask you to revisit it. I'm not gonna beat it to death. It's certainly the board's prerogative. But needless to say, I'm a bit disappointed considering all the Saturdays and Sundays I've spent in here. We've had a very tough year, and tough years come and go, I understand that. You just deal with them when they're here. But, you you know, I would say that conservatively, I put in 55 hours a week here, between what I do physically in this building and what I do remotely from home. All hours of the day and night, pretty much 7 days a week. And, that's all I have to say on that subject.
Recommendation, just leave that on the table for now.
It's fine.
Well, yeah, I don't know when you wanna discuss it, but.
Well, I'm thinking if we're talking now, this is,
Yeah, it's about compensation.
that's what I'm thinking. It's not,
Unless Scott wants to talk about it now.
It's whatever you guys would like to do. I'm completely flexible on this. I just wanted to let you know where I stood on it,
Mhm.
and, that's it.
I prefer to talk about, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, like I said, I thought when we talked about individual compensation, we talked about it
in a
in
non-public.
non-public. I
Yeah.
mean, I understand that we put his initial number out there in a public session as we budgeted, but I figure,
Yeah, it's hard in my position because I am the only thing that's in that line item.
right,
You know, so
yeah,
it's kind of hard to hide.
exactly.
I'm comfortable now or in non-public, it's up to you guys.
Recommend in non-public.
Okay, I'm fine with that. All right.
Any other items on this budget warrant that we need to address this evening?
So,
We've got-
we need it pretty quick, is what the final budget number's gonna be for the warrant article. You know, we know what the default budget is gonna be based on last year's number. And then,
But-
the-
No, sorry. So, but there are some changes to that, like our default, because we, like you said, we have some changes coming mid-year and things like that, that our hand is forced no matter what. So so do we have the default budget, or you? That's
no, the default budget is based on this year's budget.
Right,
I mean, I shouldn't say this year, we're not in
Right,
2020
right.
anymore.
but last year's
budget,
plus or minus mandatory changes.
Right, one-time costs gotta come out,
Right,
contracted items go in.
okay.
right, and I wasn't aware, when I looked at the budget, that we had any, you know, extraordinary one-time costs that were built into that budget that I could recall.
I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, I was just making sure.
Yeah.
So basically, any changes we'd then have to adjust,
With
other
the
line
default.
items, yeah, based on default. Okay, I'm fine with that.
The other thing is, I mean, I gave you, I've been kind of tweaking the draft warrant as we've all been discussing it. So the one that's in the book is kind of the latest version I have. The only thing that we had talked about that I didn't put in there yet was if you wanted to undo the article that rescinded the authority of the selectmen to be able to sell the old DPW property. And I've got that warrant article here, I'll read it to you so you can understand what it was and whether we just wanna reverse this. And this was Article 24, and I guess this was, 2008? And it says affirmative vote to rescind the authority given to the selectmen to sell the building and property known as the old highway garage and to direct the selectmen to allow the New Ipswich Fire Department to use it for their acquired firefighting equipment for as long as they have a need. And further, to direct the selectmen to keep the salt and sand sheds at that centrally located place instead of moving them to the landfill. Submitted by petition, not recommended by the board of selectmen, not recommended by the finance advisory committee. Well, some things have changed, obviously. We're building a salt shed here, so there's really no need to keep that as a location for salt and sand. And I don't know, I know the fire department has some equipment stored in there, and the question is.
I don't think she has any.
I thought they took it all
I thought
out.
they took it all out.
Yeah.
She said I thought she said they weren't using it at all anymore.
Okay, I'll double check on that, cause somebody recently told me there was still some equipment that belonged to the fire department that's stored there.
Okay.
But I will confirm that. But other than that, I was trying to get a hold of DRA today to see if it was as simple as reinstating the authority
Right.
and basically using this as, pretty much as written. But I wanna confirm that with DRA. The DRA rep did not get back to me this afternoon. I was hoping she would, so that we could finalize that, but
I'm in favor of us, if DRA can give you the direction,
as far as the correct wording. Yeah.
correct wording, I'm in favor of getting that back on to give us the authority to sell that. Because otherwise, like you said, we're moving the salt shed. So I don't see a reason to maintain that property, especially if there's any opportunity for us to sell it and make it a taxable piece of property.
I agree with that.
I would just reword it
Okay.
even.
All right, I'll work on that in the next 24 to 48 hours and hopefully have a draft of that warrant article for you to look at.
I saw you added the road committee stuff to the
I
other
did.
two articles, thank you.
Thank you.
And I did see there's a meeting. It was quite the email chain, but
Yeah, well, trying to get those people together and line up everybody's calendars is always a challenge, right? So, when it's not a regularly occurring meeting.
And
Can we
actually,
go back to the assessors budget? Cause I still have it at blank. You have your book with you?
did we wanna go over the warrants, or before we did that? Like to stay on one subject, or no?
well, that is
That's part of the warrant.
Oh, it is.
because it's
Oh,
a, it's a
I'm trying to-
budget warrant.
Oh, get that one.
So I've got.
Gentlemen,
Yes,
what exactly is left on the budget?
Well, we've got the FICA and Medi numbers to put in, but like, I'm just looking at my summary sheet to see, what we don't have numbers for. And, one of them is the assessors. I still don't have that column moved over to the, selectmen's budget, which is where we make those changes. So that's why I'm asking the question.
give me 1 second, I'll have the number. I
Yeah,
think I have it
take your
here, but I
time.
just need to make sure.
So the assessor's contract number, at least the one I have, we still had at 40,955.
That's what I still have in that
So I
column
have-
highlighted.
And
No.
that needs to be reduced.
No, it's reduced by 20,440, which brings you to 20,515.
Yeah.
Say that number again, please.
20,515. So I have 34,371.
Did any of the other numbers change?
No. Well, I don't know. They're the budget that we received. So I mean, you need me to go down the line?
No, hang on one
Okay.
sec.
So it's 34,371, and I have an asterisk
34,
for
371.
I have an asterisk for FICA and Medi, excuse me.
Right.
277, 500.
Do you have this in a master spreadsheet?
He's
Yes.
finishing that up. That's the whole issue, that we're making sure we have everything besides FICA and Medi. Then Scott will be able to fix that, and then we'll have a master spreadsheet.
And this all has to be done before next Tuesday.
Correct. So you said 34,371 was the number?
Yes, with the asterisk.
Okay.
Well, some things did change, like they went up on their computer services a little bit.
I just meant if we changed,
Okay.
if
Oh,
we changed
them.
it.
Okay.
No, we didn't change anything
Yeah.
from what they
Uh,
proposed. They're
And what do we have for numbers? Under police, I've got maybe 6 blank with a highlight. PD health, PD dental, PD life,
because I think some of those,
FICA, Medi, and retirement.
yeah, because I think those were based on salary recommendations.
I've got full-time at 434,606. Is that correct?
That's
Yes.
six- oh, it's 609 for some reason.
He wrote it upside down.
Must have just flipped it for that one
Yeah,
number.
just for that one number.
I like the lower number anyways.
So what was full-time salaries again? 4,341?
606.
434,606.
Okay.
And I think everything else was dependent upon that number, so that's why we didn't have it.
Yeah, between that and then choosing the healthcare plan.
She's sticking it out, man. She's a trooper.
Once you get into the meetings, you know,
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
a hard thing to shut off.
Oh yeah, it's riveting.
It's even, I don't know. I like it. I don't know, I think we wrapped up the job yesterday at like 6:30, jumped in the truck, and I was like, man, I missed 30 minutes of the meeting. Just fired it up, and got it going, and then it just continued at the house. Then I got to get the video, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I know, it's actually on my new vehicle. I can actually listen. Like Zoom is one of the options
Oh, really?
on the screen that comes up. If I plug my phone in, one of the apps available on the screen is Zoom.
Huh.
Like, you don't get a camera, but you can hear it, and you can sign into the meeting through.
Cool. Yeah, definitely useful.
So you can drive, yeah, and be
Yeah.
in the meeting.
'Cause everybody around me is like, what are you doing? This is pertinent. It's
Yeah.
so important.
Important stuff.
Started making more changes so that we can do it more. Adding on a guy or two, picked up another truck, gonna get another van.
Nice.
What else be down here, hanging out, reading RSAs. I finally get that time.
Finally get yourself over to Milford.
That's in process too.
There you go.
February 10th.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have to make an appointment, or is that just when you have the?
Yeah, appointment. Yeah, yeah.
I know I lucked out. Mine came due in September, and Karen's came due in December, and they shut down in March or whatever. So she
Yeah.
lucked out. So, we're good.
Yeah, it's actually so easy, like,
I know,
like
I know it's so easy now, you
every
walk
time
in,
I
you
walk
hand it,
out
they
of the
scan
meeting.
it all through, and
and we talked, like, I talk about it, I'm like, I just have to do it. Then finally, I think it was just last week, I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm gonna make a couple phone calls.
and that's it, they've made it so easy now, you walk in, they take all your stuff, they scan it through a computer,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, they check a couple things, they're like, stand in front of that, so we can, you know, like, look here, you're like, what? And, then they give you a paper and they'll fold over one, they're like, alright. And like about 5 minutes after you walk out, the paper one rips in half, and then you gotta wait for your plastic one to show up.
Yeah.
And, hope that you don't have to show the paper one, cause no one accepts it, so.
Which I do have, I have a job at a natural gas facility coming up in February. It's pretty good.
Do you have, IRS actually lowered the, mileage rate this year. 2 cents, but they actually lowered it from 53 cents a mile to 51 cents a mile.
We'll be going the other way next year,
I'm sure it will.
just saying.
Oh, yeah, no, cause yeah, they base it on last year's gas prices, and like you said, it's already gone up 30 cents.
It's unbelievable.
It'll go up, wait till it shoots up in the summertime.
Yep.
We did about 50,000 miles last year. Crazy.
Yeah, when I was driving, luckily I had a company vehicle, but yeah, when I was driving for cafe, couldn't believe, like, you have to.
And I have to work it, like, work too.
Yeah, and you have to, but you gotta maintain the vehicle because they're on a fleet program, so you
Yeah.
have to maintain them, so like every 3,000 miles, between 3 and 5, you're going in. It's like, guys that, I had one of those, like, it's ridiculous how often I was just getting oil changes, constant, probably every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But I hit cause my district went from here over to Brattleboro and as high up as Fairhaven, Windsor, Vermont and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So Fairhaven, that's a 3+ hour drive to get to Fairhaven, Vermont.
Yeah.
You have to get there at 6 in the morning, you're leaving here at 3 in the morning. Drive up to Fairhaven.
Where the heck is that, John?
It's kind of middle of the state, I guess, but it's weird.
No direct way to get there?
No, there's absolutely no direct way to get there.
What's weird about Vermont, they have all these twisty, windy roads, and they're all 60 or 50, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Like, how do people even drive this fast
Yeah.
on these?
So I was trying to avoid one year, I was trying to save the company, when I first, like, they gave us vehicles, and I was trying to save money. I'm like, you know, it's a new car, I mean, it's got new tires, I'm safe, you know? And I'm driving up to Fairhaven, you're driving up through the mountains,
Yeah.
and I'm in the left-hand lane, mountains on my left-hand side, and I'm driving, and next thing you know, I'm in the right-hand lane, and I didn't touch the wheel, like I didn't move the wheel. The wind came across, hit the mountain, whipped across, and just pushed my car across the road sideways. I went the next day and put snow tires on the car. I'm like, that was so, cause I'm like, I'm going towards the guardrail,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm holding the wheel.
Wow.
I'm like, and it's just like, just driving, it's like, just right across the road. It just had that little fine coating of snow,
Yeah.
powder. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 ways to get there, and neither one is quick.
Yeah.
You gotta go, cause you end up, like, one way brings you past, and the only reason, it just reminds me, one way brings you past Long Trail Brewery, and the other way doesn't. But they both end up at the same place, but like if you end up Long Trail, then you end up having to go all the way through Manchester and back. Where if you go the other way, you can go up like 91, then you jump over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no quick way.
Yeah,
Either one, both of them are 3+ hour drives.
yeah.
Did we make any changes on the DPW?
I was not here for that.
Okay. I don't think we did.
I don't have
I
any
have,
changes
the only
in
thing I
that.
have highlighted are the insurances.
I don't think we did either. That was one of the ones that we kinda went through
Yeah.
remarkably fast compared to some of the smaller ones.
With everything being said, with no revisions for FICA Medi insurances, right now I'm at 2,479,401.
It's not bad.
That's without the FICA and Medi.
Without any of the changes that
Yeah.
have to be done, yeah.
So we could end up, with the changes, we could end up flat, because last year was 251.
That's what I was just looking up. I have 2501532, was that the right number?
No, 2510,562. Probably that circular reference you got in there.
I think I got that one solved.
Have you started working on any of the departments yet for the FICA, Medi, and all that stuff?
No, cause I don't have, I need kind of what the final numbers that you guys have come up with before I can,
Oh, so you need David's
I do.
final sheet. Okay,
Cause I wasn't here 1 week as well.
right.
so I don't have all the changes.
Yeah, no. That's a pretty, it's just copying a formula pretty quick.
Yeah.
Plugging that number into that point whatever into that cell equals.
So I remember last year, you guys were doing it, this was before I was on the board, but it would come up on the screen and it was all like live, like the changes. Was that on a different computer or?
You mean the night of the budget hearing?
I don't think it was a budget, was that the budget hearing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the only time that took
That's
place?
it.
I thought it was multiple meetings that was
No.
happening.
No, it should have only been that, cause yeah, we will, like, and what we've done, we've put it on this, last year because it was live, we weren't zooming,
Yeah,
but you could just put it up there and see it, and then if a change was made, you could fix it, or there was an error, but we just had it plugged into that TV,
yeah,
and we just had the Excel format come up, so, which we'll be able to do this year during that section, we can share the screens, people can see it.
okay,
So if they don't have a copy or they're at home or whatever, they can be able to see it.
yeah.
2510562.
Yeah, that's what we had
Yeah.
yesterday, last year, yes.
It was the ACO budget.
Gotcha. That's Mark's favorite budget.
Well, Scott, so that I don't hold you up, I'll forward you what I have here.
Make sure you hit save.
File, save.
There you go.
I'm working tomorrow. Get the FICA, the Medicare and the healthcare settled for every department. And
Yeah,
then
and
send it right back to you, hopefully.
Yeah, and then there'll be a change on the police retirement,
Right.
and after discussion, anything else, yeah.
COVID-19 sick
Um,
time policy.
Did- Did we,
Oh,
Yeah.
we wanted to go over the trust funds,
Yeah, we need to go over the trust fund so that we can adjust the warrant article for
the
that.
capital reserve funds?
Yeah.
And
is that,
I knew he was good.
Yeah, so
Skip
the,
it.
under tab 2 is the list of all the trust fund balances, and Benty gave me that today for that. He was waiting for it to be finalized through the end of the year,
Alright,
so,
I noticed you were out of the room. There is an error on the additions made last year that
Right.
needs to be fixed.
okay, that was, you said that was the fire?
Yeah, so they put everything in the fire department capital reserve, and 20,000 of that needs to be moved to the fire protection equipment. Actually, you weren't out of the room, I just wanted to say it while we're in public,
Yeah.
because I said it before the meeting started.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll start with the first one.
waiting for this thing to send to Scott. It's holding up. I wanna open that back up so I can, update the.
And while we're kinda waiting or whatever, I think it was at the beginning of last year that Carlene said that she wanted to, like, not be in charge of cleaning the town office, right? March-ish, something like that.
She did, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's before, well, at that point, she was looking to move to another town.
Okay,
And then things changed, Linda Langeville resigned, and Carlene ended up staying.
yeah.
Not to say that we shouldn't be looking for cleaning services.
Well, that's what I was gonna bring up, cause I thought we were looking at cleaning services for here and the
Yeah.
police department. And I didn't know if that was included in the budget or not already.
It's not in the budget, it's not in the general buildings budget.
Have you been able into that at all?
Quite honestly, no. I've got like 4 or 5 companies identified. I have not had a chance to, call them and get them out here to see what they would charge us to do these 2 buildings.
Yeah.
And our square footage on the police station is now changing.
Right. Is that something Mark should be doing instead of you?
He could probably do that, yeah.
I know, police chief's pretty antsy about it, cause he's using his guys to,
So he could pick up the phone and started calling if he was that antsy. You know,
Yeah.
I hear him
okay,
and I understand his concern. However, he also could, offer to make a few phone calls as well.
Yeah.
And so complaining about it is one thing, actually helping out and solving it would be another.
John, just so I can get this correctly, the 20,000 you said was put into the fire department capital reserve instead of the fire protection equipment, or?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so the fire department capital reserve, which is, fire truck or whatever, that should have been 50,000. And the equipment should have been 20,000.
Right, the equipment is 0 and
Yeah.
other is 70, so they obviously. So you can either transfer it, or you can adjust the balances that we contribute this year. Which
I would transfer,
Yeah.
correct it.
Okay.
Okay, the highway equipment capital reserve,
Yeah, current balance is 404,637.
yes. The numbers that are on this draft here, are these last year's numbers?
No, these are the ones that the,
I have last year's.
Yeah, could you just give me what we had last year?
So highway was 75.
Yeah.
Fire truck was 50.
Yeah.
Pool was 6. Park and rec was 2,500.
Yeah.
Police cruiser was 40. Revaluation was 15. Building maintenance was 35. And protective equipment was 20.
Any discussion on the highway equipment capital reserve amount?
Um, No, I mean, what, I guess we're at 404, but that goes pretty quick if we
Yeah,
have one
and I
piece of
mean,
equipment going.
Some of those trucks now are starting to show their age.
Yeah.
So, and, Peter's always mentioning the grader,
Yes.
so,
That's not gonna be cheap.
that won't be inexpensive.
So I'm fine at 75.
Okay. The fire truck capital reserve account currently has 199,406,
Take 70 out, take 20 out of that.
around
So that's
79.
179.
I'm good with the 50.
Yep.
The pool expendable trust.
is 39,472.
Yeah, I think that, it's listed on here as the pool maintenance.
Yeah.
Can we correct this to match this, or should this match that?
Well, a couple of them, like the fire one is listed differently as well. This one says fire truck capital reserve, there says fire department capital reserve.
But the question is, which
I
is
would
right?
say, I'm probably much easier to change our listing than their listing.
Okay,
So I would say with the fire truck, it should say fire department. And the pool should say pool maintenance expendable trust.
I'll just put a note in general, just change it to match the report of trustees.
Yeah.
Pool expendable is how much? 39,479, we're gonna put another 6.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Maintenance of parks and rec facility,
That is
Parks and Rec.
49,306.
49,306, 2,500.
I'm fine with that.
I'm just wondering if that shouldn't get bumped. We're always talking about getting those tennis courts rebuilt.
Oh. I don't think it's a good year to bump that stuff, like if we're so close to, level funding from last year,
That's different.
yeah. Oh, it is like just a
Yeah.
completely different thing,
Yeah, that's, the warrants are after.
yeah.
So if you look at, so what we looked at was, the. That's the wrong one.
Wasn't there some talk of converting one of the tennis courts into a skate park?
No, we have a skate park. The conversation I think they were actually doing was, doing the,
Pickleball.
Thank you.
Yeah, the pickleball, yeah,
So this is a number
Which I
we're
think
looking at
they-
here,
which we already had the lines in it,
yeah,
yeah,
the total operating budget,
yeah.
then warrants are beyond that.
Oh, okay, alright.
If we bumped it up, I would only bump it up to 3,000 at this point.
Cause like that project, if I remember correctly, it was over $100,000 to rebuild the tennis courts,
Cause it's gotta be completely ripped up and rebuilt.
yeah.
But I'll be, I mean, my thing, I don't know, like right now, I mean, what's the surface on that? That's like,
asphalt.
Yeah, and before we even did that, I think it'd be prudent to observe how many people use the tennis courts.
well, I would
I
also
think more
look at,
people would use it if there was,
Well, we actually need more parking down at the park, like in a typical year, that's what we were always up against, was like being able to have enough parking for the people to come down to the events. So even making the tennis courts smaller,
I guess,
if we were doing that,
I guess my issue is, I mean, one of the things is, looking at, if I remember right, looking back at the tennis court proposal, could we do something simpler with a concrete court?
you know, play tennis on a concrete
I
court.
played tennis on a concrete court growing up as a kid.
I wanna go there.
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying,
Guys,
for the number of people
I'm
that.
just trying to think ahead.
yeah.
There are
yeah.
I would have played there, John,
Okay.
you know?
But
But
is it
you
one of
don't.
those things that you could put down instead of whatever they've got now? Would it be concrete and a sealant over the top that would be more? I'm just thinking, have we looked into other options to make that usable without going to $100,000? Is all
And
I'm
I'm
saying.
sure that tennis court could be rebuilt for less than $100,000.
Okay.
But I think the main issue with the court is it was built on sand.
Right.
So when it cracks and the water gets in there, it's washing out and developing voids. So
So like pouring concrete would work.
Was it past your bedtime or something?
3,000.
It's not gonna get you anywhere. Just
Okay,
leave it at
then leave it at 25. I'm fine
Exactly.
with it. There you go. See,
Yeah.
we've done
That's forward thinking.
it.
Police cruiser account,
Yes, the police department expendable trust is currently at
25.
25.6. I mean, if you're gonna replace just one cruiser this coming year, well, actually,
We would have to wait a year,
wait a
Yeah.
year.
so we need to put at least 30 in, so leave it at the 40. Because if we need, because we spent what, 50? Round number, 50,000?
51,000, and, I mean, the price is only gonna go up, right?
Right.
So,
So,
yeah, I mean, between the two cruises we bought this year, we spent $100,567,
right.
because we had a trade on one of them, we didn't have a trade on the second one.
So we need to, yeah. So we need to have at least 30,000 put in to be prepared for a year from now.
For 2022.
Right. So what's,
just trying to do some,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, because when you put the 40,000 in now, you spend it in 2022. 2022, probably gonna have to increase it slightly. You might end up going up to 45, because I'm saying,
Right.
if it's gonna cost to say 55 in 2 years, and that's hopeful thinking,
Mhm.
the following year, you know, we may be 55 or 60, and then you're right on the edge.
Right.
Yeah,
I'd say keep it at the 40.
I'm fine with that.
okay.
Revaluation,
Yeah, that was based on the assessor's request.
we have
6.
26,000 in there now.
And we're to take 20,000 of that out.
So leave the 15.
Or would you go,
No, they asked for 30. That way they can be
Well, if you're
prepared.
taking 20 out,
Yep, that's gonna leave you 6,000 in there.
but you put in 15, you'll have 21.
Right, but they're preparing so that we don't have to do a huge jump the
Yeah.
very year before the bulk payment.
which is in 3
3 years, I
cycles,
think.
yeah.
So they're doing the 15 plus a 15. They're doing extra each year so that when we're ready for the lump payment, we're not asking for a huge lump payment the year before. It's broken out over the 3 years.
What's the lump payment value?
I don't remember what that was. I know they sent
Well,
it.
if you're putting in 30,000 a year for 4 years, that's 120,000.
But you're
Well,
gonna
they're
take
taking
out
out
20,000
20 of
each
that
year.
each year.
Okay,
So you're really only putting in an
you'll have
extra. You're
50,000.
only an extra, right?
And that's about what, I think that's the number that I heard.
No, that
for
revaluation didn't cost us 50,000.
That-
Look in your warrant article, didn't it have a withdrawal? Look the year before.
Before
Well, it should be in there. It should be in there.
The withdrawal was this past year was $35,050. But they withdrew.
Wait a minute, withdrew when?
Oh, it just said they withdrew 35,000 of principal this year of revaluation capital reserve.
Thought that they didn't have a warrant article last year to withdraw money from there. And we put it out of the legal budget.
No, we didn't have money to, was it to withdraw?
To withdraw. Is there a warrant article last year for revaluation? think it was, cause we went over the legal budget.
There's no warrant.
I think that's why we ended up taking the money. Oh, we just had them, wasn't the, 5-year reval done in 2019?
Yeah, it was in
Yeah,
2019.
'cause it's due in 2024.
Yeah, there was no article to withdraw from.
Yeah, that's why I
That
think
fund.
the payment for that came out of our legal fund. And I thought every year if we were putting 20,000
In
in there,
2019, it was 51,000,
Okay. 51,000 was used?
was in the warrant article.
Okay, so it is, so it's 50,000. It's 50-something thousand, so putting the extra 10 in is
it
repairing.
was in the warrant article?
No, he says it was in 2019. He says,
Mark, what, was that to put money in or was that to take money out?
Raise and appropriate
Okay. For,
for updated assessed values required by state of New Hampshire, blah, blah, blah.
So it wouldn't be in that one, it would have been.
it was in the 2018?
19,
Oh, so it was the 2019 warrant articles. Okay. All right. So it was a year before this.
Yeah.
So, and it was $50,000.
Article 10.
should be in there. Can I see that?
This is a 20.
This is
Yeah, but they
2019.
put the year before articles
was-
and how they voted, how it passed.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't
Yeah.
look. I was looking at the yellow pages. I wasn't
No.
looking at the other ones.
The white pages.
The
Yeah.
white pages. What do you say, 10? Article 10?
Article 10. Yeah.
So they withdrew 51,000. So that would have been for the 5-year reval.
Yeah.
So by doing what they're asking, we will have the 50,000 in preparation in the year ahead, so that we're set. We'll have 50,000 in there in time to use the year of the reval.
30 times 4 is gonna be 120,000, and we have 25 in there now.
Right, but then you're gonna take out,
Alright, just.
so really just think about, you're only
It's
putting 10
actually
in.
short, I think, almost like
No,
they need
we have,
right? Because if you take that 80 out,
yeah, 26.
it only
So
leaves
if
you
you
with
put in
40.
30 over 4 years, you're gonna have 146,000.
Then take out 20 each year.
There's 80,
So
and
that's
then you need
60.
50.
So it leaves you 60,000. So it puts 60,000 left.
You'll have 16,000 left.
Right.
After the 50.
Right.
Okay.
But are we a year behind
No,
somehow?
because then we can increase if we have to at another point. But by
Okay.
doing it this way,
At least there's something.
there's
like
we
some
have at least
extra-
16,000 buffer.
So the 30 stays.
Yes.
Yeah.
Building maintenance expendable trust.
It's at 335 right now.
Yeah.
So bring it to 370.
I'm thinking if there's any plans to repair the old town hall, that's where that money should come from. In addition to the walk we took of the highway garage, and then we have that, I forget the lady's name, the one that's
Margaret Dillon.
doing the energy audit as far as building envelope.
Yeah.
So keep it
So,
at 35.
I'd keep it.
And then
Protective. So
Right.
this is the one you say we need to add the 20 to that?
yeah, so it's going to be at 67, and the last year in the warrant, what was it? The
But
tanks was 200 and some odd thousand dollars.
Yeah, it ended up being a little less than that. It was under $200,000 when all was said and done. But, you know, if you have to replace them every 10 or 15 years.
Right, and they're trying to get into the cycle that we're not replacing
So
all
you
of
don't-
them.
Right, so you don't need a $200,000 warrant article to
Right.
fix the problem.
So I would leave that at the 20.
And I'm gonna make sure that all of these are called exactly what they're called on the
Yeah.
trustee sheet.
So the only difference is a $10,000 drop, so it's 258.5 will be that Article 6.
That's what I got.
Awesome.
On that Article 4, do we need to have the definition of the road committee since that was already defined previously?
I would leave it. Just,
Just makes it longer.
if they're gonna vote for it, they're gonna vote for it.
Okay, this is what's throwing me off then. Why do we have Article 10?
What's that?
Why do we have Article 10?
So that we can withdraw from
Withdraw.
that fund for the
Okay, we
this-
did.
for this year's revaluation.
What am I? Did we pull that out of the budget?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's why it dropped from 40,000 to 25,000.
well, what do we get for 20,
46.
what do we get for 20,500 under the assessor's contract? You tell me we pay $40,000 a year for
Yes.
assessments?
They, in the new contract, they changed, we used to get certain things as part written into the contract. It was, I'd have to look. So there were certain items like, not comps.
Yeah, it's the general assessing is 6,240. The pickups of the new
Pickups.
is 3,000.
Pickups of what? Pickup what?
So the pickups are new construction, additions,
Okay,
whatever
yeah.
it may be,
Yeah.
That used to be included.
right?
It's not anymore.
Right. The
Why
abate-
isn't it?
It's the way they're
It's the way the contract's written. And then the abatements used to be included. Now they're not.
4,875, 4,875 for the abatements.
The contract,
And
they
then,
stopped including stuff.
right,
I think
then
the contract should have gone before this board.
Well, I guess my question is are they getting 3 quotes, or do we even have the option of 3 quotes on something of that high? Isn't it supposed to be a certain amount, and it has to have?
It's anything over 5,000. And to execute a contract on behalf of the town, I don't believe the assessors have that authority. So we're paying a higher value and we're getting
The same.
less. Because they said their contract went up in value. We're getting less work out of them and we're paying for that now out of the warrant article, or the capital reserve fund.
Well, we always paid for it out of the capital reserve fund. We always paid for the revaluation part
So
of it.
this, on the Article 10, is just for the revaluation.
Yes,
And so the increase in their budget line item is to pick up the cost they used to be included.
correct. So we're paying more for the same amount of work. Okay, no more freebies.
Mhm. It was free, wasn't it?
Was Baker's dozen. All right.
And then you'll, do you wanna review these petition warrant articles? Cause those will have to go on here also. And are we, at what point do we, vote on these to have the boards?
I think at the budget hearing. We've done it both. We've done it at the budget hearing, and then we did it again at the deliberative
We've done it
session.
here so that it's on.
Right.
But
Yeah, and I think that's what it was, is I think one year we missed getting it on the bottom, so we had to vote at the deliberative session, because you weren't at the budget session, so we had to,
That was last year.
Yeah, wasn't that one article, you guys did vote on it, but they were wondering why it wasn't 3.
It was
Right.
at the
Right.
deliberative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we had, so then we had to vote. And then I think some of our,
I think we should do it before the deliberative session.
I think doing it at the budget session is,
That's fine.
You send notices to the petitioners to make their case for you guys before you decide?
that they do, they have to do that at the, deliberative.
Yeah.
They have to explain it to the voters.
Typically, the board votes on the things that have the financial impact. You know, if it's gonna cost us X amount of dollars, but if it's, you know,
But-
like the one that came in today for Prime or something, that's,
I think we still vote on those.
I
'Cause,
don't think we have in the past.
but I think people have asked us too, because that's like, I mean, you look at the one there about the rescind the right to sell the property.
Mm-hmm.
There was recommendations by both board and finance advisory, and it had no financial impact. So
Good point.
I think we should still say whether or not we are in agreement or not in agreement, or
Okay.
on any of
Are
them.
we in agreement on, going to non-public?
Did you wanna go over the
Oh, the
COVID-19?
Yeah, so the reason I brought this up is, we have a situation right now with an employee. And, so we've largely been quarantining. We've been paying them, but also deducting from their sick time. The chief feels that that should come under the 80 hours allowed under the COVID policy. However, when I read this policy,
Excuse me, are we done with budgeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
When I read this, all it says is that we have to make them eligible for up to 80 hours of sick time. The fact that we already provide 40 hours of sick time for our full-time employees, this, to me, doesn't say we give them an additional 80 to draw off of. It just says that we're obligated to pay them 80 hours of sick time. It doesn't really address whether that goes against our
No.
own policy,
Right.
to give them a total of 120 hours of sick time. So I wanted to bring it to the attention of the board and get your opinion on it. I mean, when I read this, guidance from Primex, and I confirm this is the same guidance we got from the Department of Labor when the CARES Act came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I compared the two documents just to see if they were stating the same thing, and they are. In my opinion, we should still be charging against our regular sick time policy. And then we're obligated to pay an extra 40 hours for a total of 80,
Yes.
because it's typically a 14-day quarantine, although that's down to about 10 now.
That's how I would,
Or is it above and beyond?
It doesn't say that. I mean,
Right.
it just says we're
Yeah.
obligated to make sure that if somebody's out for 2
Yeah.
weeks because of a COVID quarantine, that they get paid. And
yeah, they
we're
get
doing
paid there, because it says regardless of length of time, they're entitled to receive up to 80 hours of paid sick. It doesn't say additional 80 hours. So I
Yeah,
would,
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Am I interpreting that the right way?
That's how I read
I
it.
mean, that's how I'm having
Yeah.
Roger do it now.
Yeah.
And Roger and I, you know, had the understanding that if we had to reverse it, it's easily reversed. But I think it does go against their sick time.
So who would you actually check with though? Cause I'm no expert in this, I don't think anybody
So
here-
the only, you know, honestly, I can call the US Department of Labor. I have a contact there that I'm all too familiar with. You know, she's the director, the Northeast director, so she'll give me some guidance, because her and I have gone through the CARES Act in more detail than I care to admit. You know, she'll give me a clear picture of what it is, and it's other than that, it's referred to town council and let their labor attorneys look at it and give us guidance.
Well, based on what we're reading here,
It's,
I don't know, I'd feel better if you actually,
Yeah.
asked.
because the only thing is, I just want to make sure that under the general rules, section C, I want to make sure that line A, I'm calling it line A, the first bullet point, I want to make sure that's referring to vacation or floating holiday and not to sick time. Because
which one are you referring to, John?
See,
page 2,
so page 2 of that
Yeah,
policy under C.
C, general
rules.
rules.
Yep.
You read the first one. So I just want to make sure that's referring to vacation or floating holiday and not referring to already
Sick time.
noted sick time. So,
like to me, as much as I,
and
if
then
the
are we,
quarantine's like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and that's what the 80 hours is basically the 2 weeks for the coronavirus specifically.
but now it's
That's what
10
it
days.
seems like. Well, this was written in April, so
Right.
I don't know if this has changed.
It has not.
But it says you're not required to pay them unused, like if
Yeah.
they're eligible for 80 and they use, 40, 10 days times, or, 40, 10 to 80,
Yeah,
10 days is 80.
yeah, yeah.
But 10 days doesn't, it's 10 days of work, so if it's 5 days, 2 weekend days.
That's yeah, but it comes out to like a full-time worker being 80 hours for 2 weeks, like 10 days.
But it
however
also
you wanna
says
call
that it caps it, there's a cap amount too.
Yeah,
So if that would put them over that cap, you're only required to pay up to that dollar amount.
so,
and is there funding for this outside of the budget?
There was not.
That doesn't make sense.
But it's hours that it's money we've already budgeted. We're not bringing in subs. It's not like. But like I said, I just want a clarification on C1 and then,
Yeah. So I'll
And
ask
then-
that question. and,
because then I think that clears up our question.
yeah. I don't think it's for us to decide, really.
No, I think it is.
Well,
It is
no,
odd.
Well, the insurance company, like, we could make a decision tonight that contradicts what the intention of this is and could be completely wrong.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because
Yeah.
I think C1, I'll call it C1, clarifies that for us.
Yeah,
And if they say, no, that includes town approved 40-hour sick time,
Mhm.
so you can't use that then, you know,
Yeah, then
then that answers our question.
And it makes no sense that you're giving them sick time, but they can't use that sick time, you gotta give them additional sick time.
Well, it's because they're quarantined, they're not really sick, they're sitting at home in perfect health, told they can't come to work.
Or they could. It said if you can set them up to work remotely, so that
Right.
would cover some,
Right, that would cover some people.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, motion to go under non-public under RSA 91A3.
There's gonna be a few of them,
Yeah, we'll start with D,
yeah.
2D. Good night, Nicole.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.